The book For Your Own Good by Alice Miller makes a case for violence in, including like war, like the small mustache man level evil stuff, all kinds of things actually trace back to child abuse and child neglect types of parenting that have been existing in different forms for hundreds of years now, which is why it quotes terrible parenting books from like the 1700s and 1800s. I want to read a passage where it kind of explains what she is coining poisonous pedagogy, basically her summary of beliefs and traits that are toxic parenting that have existed for years, and a little bit of context for that too. So here's a lead in. I have selected these passages in order to characterize an attitude that reveals itself more or less openly, not only in fascism, but in other ideologies as well. The scorn and abuse directed at the helpless child, as well as the suppression of vitality, creativity, and feeling in the child and in oneself, permeate so many areas of our life that we hardly even notice it anymore. Almost everywhere, we find the effort, marked by varying degrees of intensity, and by the use of various coercive measures, to rid ourselves as quickly as possible of the child within us, i.e., the weak, helpless, dependent creature, in order to become an independent, competent adult deserving of respect. When we re encounter this creature in our own children, we persecute it with the same measures once used on ourselves, and this is what we are accustomed to calling child rearing. In the following pages, I will apply the term poisonous pedagogy to this very complex endeavor. The specific facets can be derived directly from the preceding quotations from that child rearing manuals. These pages teach us that 1. Adults are the masters, not the servants, of the dependent child. 2. They determine in godlike fashion what is right and what is wrong. 3. The child is held responsible for their anger. 4. The parents must always be shielded. 5. The child's life-affirming feelings pose a threat to the autocratic adult. 6. The child's will must be broken as soon as possible. 7. All this must happen at a very early age, so the child won't notice and will therefore not be able to expose the adults. The methods that can be used to suppress vital spontaneity in the child are laying traps, lying, duplicity, manipulation, scare tactics, withdrawal of love, isolation, distrust, humiliating and disgracing the child, scorn, ridicule, and coercion, even to the point of torture. It is also a part of poisonous pedagogy to impart to the child from the beginning false information and beliefs that have been passed on from generation to generation and dutifully accepted by the young, even though they are not only unproven but are demonstrably false. Examples of such beliefs are 1. A feeling of duty produces love. 2. Hatred can be done away with by forbidding it. 3. Parents deserve respect simply because they are parents. 4. Children are undeserving of respect simply because they are children. 5. Obedience makes a strong child. 6. A high degree of self-esteem is harmful. 7. A low degree of self-esteem makes a person altruistic. 8. Tenderness is harmful. 9. Responding to a child's needs is wrong. 10. Severity and coldness are a good preparation for life. 11. A pretense of gratitude is better than honest ingratitude. 12. The way you behave is more important than the way you really are. 13. Neither parents nor God would survive being offended. I particularly like that one. 14. The body is something dirty and disgusting. 15. Strong feelings are harmful. 16. Parents are creatures free of drives and guilt. 17. Parents are always right. When we consider the major role intimidation plays in this ideology, which was still at the peak of its popularity at the turn of the century, it is not surprising that Sigmund Freud had to conceal his surprising discovery of adult sexual abuse of their own children, a discovery he was led to by the testimony of his patients. He disguised his insight with the aid of a theory that nullified this inadmissible knowledge. Children of his day were not allowed, under the severest of threats, to be aware of what adults were doing to them, and if Freud had persisted in his seduction theory, he would not only have had his introjected parents to fear, but would no doubt have been discredited and probably ostracized by middle class society. In order to protect himself, he had to devise a theory that would preserve appearances by attributing all evil, guilt, and wrongdoing to the child's fantasies, in which the parents served only as objects of projection. We can understand why this theory omitted the fact that it is the parents who not only project their sexual and aggressive fantasies onto the child, but also are able to act out these fantasies because they wield the power. It is probably thanks to this omission that many professionals in the psychiatric field, the product of poisonous pedagogy, have been able to accept the Freudian theory of drives because it did not force them to question their own idealized image of their parents. With the aid of Freud's drive and structural theories, they have been able to continue obeying the commandment they internalized very early in childhood: thou shalt not be aware of what your parents are doing to you. I consider the impact of poisonous pedagogy on the theory and practice of psychoanalysis so crucial. I must stress how important it is that we all be aware of the effect of the commandment to refrain from placing blame on our parents. This commandment, deeply imprinted in us by our upbringing, skillfully performs the function of hiding essential truths from us, or even making them appear as their exact opposites. The price many of us pay for this is severe neuroses. What becomes of all of those people who are successful products of strict upbringing? It is inconceivable that they were able to express and develop their true feelings as children, for anger and helpless rage, which they were forbidden to display, would have been among these feelings, particularly if the children were beaten, humiliated, lied to, or deceived. What becomes of this forbidden and therefore unexpressed anger? Unfortunately, it does not disappear, but is transformed with time into more or less conscious hatred directed against either the self or substitute persons, a hatred that will seek to discharge itself in various ways permissible and suitable for an adult.